Hello, everybody. It's Sam and
Honor.
yeah, we're here with a quick little announcement before the episode starts. We just wanted to let you guys know some very exciting news. Cast is now part of Weird Mage.
Weird Mage.
Thank you, Honor. That's true. What is Weird Mage, you might ask? Well, Weird Mage is a creative studio founded by me, Honor, and a friend Jasper, who put together the theme song for Cast.
What does Weird Mage even do? We make video games. We've been working on some different projects for the past year or so.
We've been making a bunch of stuff in our spare time, and we decided, just like Podcast, we wanted to share it with more people. So we'll be making video games, board games, podcasts, all kinds of stuff. Creative Studio is a catch-all for all the fun things that we are really excited about working on together.
Whatever we want to do.
What does that mean for you, dear Podcast head? It doesn't mean anything right now, really. Nothing will change in the near future. We're going to keep uploading bi-weekly, and you're going to keep hearing from us. We're going to keep talking about good podcasts. But if you're excited about your favorite podcast host making something new, then go check us out at weirdmage.com. That's the domain. Go there. You'll see a little bit more about us and our other projects and what we're excited to do. And you'll be hearing so much more about it in the future. We're super excited.
We're just going to be weirder and magier.
That's so true. All right. Well, we'll talk to you more about it later. Until then, enjoy this episode in which we talk about something. Bye. Honor, today I'm coming to you from the deck of the Starship Enterprise.
Okay. And let's say I believe you.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be more to, like, let's say I believe you and then hypothetical circumstance.
No, you seemed like you were going to say more, so I'll entertain you.
I am going to say more. Our studio got an upgrade. I'm here. You're not, and I'm missing you in a big way. But I've replaced you with what looks like the thing that Darth Vader wears on his chest. Like, we got new equipment. We got new audio interface and new microphones. Hopefully I sound wonderful.
Yeah, you sound great.
I feel like I'm piloting a spaceship here. I'm very excited.
That's so cool. I've replaced you with my cat, who I'm not going to say who I like more.
But that is true. And this is Podcast. Hello.
Hello.
Oh, well, welcome to dang it. And welcome to Podcast. It's a podcast where we talk about other podcasts. I'm Sam.
And I'm Honor.
Honor, so we're doing this virtually, and I can see you with this setup, but you can't see me.
Yeah.
And it was great how you you leaned back like you were gargling mouthwash, or else like you were like a dinosaur rearing its head about to defend its young.
Yeah, that was my plan. And also it meant I didn't yell directly into the microphone. So actually, it was genius.
Yeah, we're continuing our summers apart, but we're, I think, together in spirit in that we're listening to a lot of the same audio.
Yep.
Honor, what are we talking about today?
Today we're talking about what, at least to me, is a real classic, which is NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
See, you listened to this a lot when you were younger, that's right?
Yes. This is a staple of just the way I know the world, really.
What a grand yet pretty vague statement.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say a staple of my childhood.
Sure.
But if it's something like that that's key to your childhood, it's just shaping the way you view the world.
I also thought you just meant in more the ways that this is kind of a news podcast.
Also that, yeah. That's what I mean by a thing like this, is that it's a news podcast. It's educational.
You know what's funny? Something that we have in common about this podcast, before we even talk about this podcast, is that both of our brothers are big fans of this podcast.
See, I didn't know that fact about you.
Yes.
I know we talked about how my brother was obsessed with it. Like, okay, does that mean your brother also would listen to the podcast episodes like back to back to back to back? Not like this guy just listens to it on the radio.
I don't know how he consumed it, but I remember being in somewhat my infancy, of my pod life. I was a little pod toll. Okay, I was pretty metamorphosis into this beautiful, slimy creature that I am now. And, my brother was handing on to me wisdom, and he's like, oh, you should listen to this, you should listen to that. And also, there's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
There's Wait, Don't Tell Me.
And I was like, I'll give it a listen. And I was like, oh, this is different. It was, I think, the first news podcast I ever listened to. And it worked because I didn't want to consume news. But it is also funny.
Yes, exactly.
For those who don't know, Wait, Don't Tell Me is a production of NPR and WBEZ Chicago. So I say it that way because that is just drilled into my head.
That's how they say it.
That's how they say it every time. It's an NPR podcast. It is a news quiz. It's like a game show, like Jeopardy, but if Jeopardy was just about the last week's news. Do you think that's a fair description on it?
Yes. It is like very recent news because you could say it's like a trivia show, but it's not trivia. It's like things that happened 3 days ago.
Yes. I mean, some of it is trivia, right? Like some of it is like the president decided that we are at war with Yugoslavia or whatever, right? But some of it is like what happened in the world of cheese.
Yeah. I'm just saying it's not like when was the world's largest cheese wheel made?
Sure.
They're not going to say that. They're going to be like, do you happen to have very specifically heard about the stuff going down with the walruses on Thursday? Did you hear about that one?
Did you hear about the walrus gangs roaming the streets of Seattle?
Yeah.
That sounds awesome. I would love for that to happen.
That would be rad. Can we start that?
Can we start the walrus gang? Yeah. I think we can. I just don't know how good we will be at recruiting walruses.
Oh, I think we'll do fine.
Can a walrus hold a Glock?
Surely.
I mean, I can definitely get like a walrus with like, I was like, what does it take to make a gang? My first thought was like a backwards hat. You know, I just get really nervous whenever I go to football stadiums, you know, or baseball stadiums. No, I think we could dress walruses up like they were in a gang. And I think we could like get fun colors. I think that's part of crime is branding.
Yeah.
But other than the tusks, I don't think they're going to be very useful at like committing crime.
I mean, walruses are scary. Walruses will get you.
Do you think we could use them in some sort of like protection racket?
Yeah, I mean, you remember what eats walruses, right?
Nothing.
Polar bears.
No.
That's the only thing. Polar bears and sharks. Those are the only things that can eat a walrus.
Yeah.
Everything else is like, what are you even going to do to that? It's like a walking rock. It's like a rock with teeth.
Well, it's also like really fat. Like it feels like very blubbery.
That's what I'm saying. Like you can't get through that. It's all hide and tusks.
Famously, you know, if the cops come around, walruses are bulletproof.
Honestly, I wonder what would happen if you shot a walrus, because they do have so much blubber that maybe they'd be fine.
I think they'd say, ow. I think they'd be like, yikes.
Well, I think it'd hurt, but like, it might not get to their vital organs. I don't know.
I guess.
And this is the kind of stuff they talk about on Wait, Don't Tell Me, which is why it's awesome.
It is why it's awesome. So kind of the basic format of the show is that it's hosted by Peter Siegel. Love you, Peter.
Love you, Peter.
Me and Anna were talking about how Peter Siegel is surprisingly bald.
Yeah, and now I'll play the flashback clip with like the...
Peter Siegel. Whoa. Mm-hmm. Why does Peter Siegel look like he's 1,000,000 years old?
Yeah.
This is 2012. Peter Siegel, why do you look so old, bro?
He looks old and kind of scary.
Why does he look like that? You know what I mean?
I don't know, dog. Who did that?
He's just so bald.
He's so bald.
But he's like not even that textured, but he's got so much eyebrow.
Yeah.
I mean, he truly is liberal professor core.
I guess.
He definitely is.
I suppose, like a little bit, but having had a lot of liberal professors, I don't know. He's like scarier.
Yeah, he definitely seems like he's going to tell me like my thesis about free will is an abomination against literature.
Yeah. He doesn't look like the chill guy that I know he is, you know? Like, I know his heart is pure, but you wouldn't think it.
On the outside, he looks like the Dark One, the Destroyer.
And now we've played the flashback where we were talking
That's
about
awesome.
Peter Siegel.
I don't know what we said, so I guess I won't recapitulate that he's bald and like a little old, but that's okay.
Yeah. Scary.
He just doesn't look what you think he sounds like.
Yeah, he's such a nice personality, and then I looked at him and went, he looks a little frightening, which is very out of character for this nice man.
And Peter Siegel, if you see this, will apologize. We'll issue a public statement. Yes. Just reach out.
Not like bad, you know.
He's slightly intimidating.
Yeah.
It's also, I guess, not hosted, but
Voiced, announced.
by Bill Curtis, who is a man with big, beautiful voice.
Yeah, that is his whole shtick, which is why I'm like, he's just the announcer of things. Every joke he makes is about his beautiful, buttery voice. That's his whole deal.
And it's awesome because he says, I'm going to guess less than 100 words per episode.
Though, you know, he's central to one of the segments. He says the beginning and the end. And he tells everyone how many points they win.
Right. He reads off the quotations for the week and then the limericks.
Yep.
Which is a great section of this podcast. And then there is a panel of guests, which are usually kind of comedians, but low-grade comedians.
Yeah. I enjoyed them. They're just funny little people.
It's true. Honor. No, they are funny. So the people that might be known from this are like Mo Rocca, Paula Poundstone. I think those are the only ones I know, but there's a bunch of other. Roy Blunt Jr., Brian Babylon, Alonzo Bowden, Josh Gondel. That's what Josh Gondelman looks like. Sorry, I've got the Wikipedia page up, so I get a like a little flashbang. I see someone's like basically a normal face, but I'm like, I've listened to your voice for so long.
Yeah, that's scary. And that's why I'm pledging right now to never go out in public again so no one will ever recognize my voice and have to get face shock. And that's my service to the public.
God bless. Yeah, so it's these kind of comedians. They're not like big level comedians. I also really enjoyed, as I was going through this Wikipedia page, it lists Mo Rocca as a humorist, which I think is a pretty good description of most of these people. Like, they're kind of funny. But the panel is kind of there to make quips and comments about the week's news, to answer questions. Ultimately, these guests are competing to see who can get the most points, because this is a game show. It's the NPR News Quiz.
The NPR News Quiz. You're being tested.
You are being tested. And if you fail, we'll throw you out of school. And then what will happen?
And then you won't even be a humorist.
You won't even be a humorist. You'll just be a little muddy boy slopping around in the mud. You know?
Yep.
Your life's not going to go anywhere, a little muddy guy.
Yeah, I don't know. I think these people are funny. I do feel like there's a very specific brand of humor that Wait, Don't Tell Me has.
I think that's absolutely accurate.
Where it's very sarcastic and witty and kind of maybe like stick it to the man-ish. But honestly, one of the things that makes it more impressive to me is that all of these people are funny live on air. Because with how fast-paced and kind of witty a lot of their quips are, I'm like, this was pre-recorded. But no, they're on the radio. This isn't a normal podcast. This is the radio.
It's true. I don't know if it was recorded live during COVID, but I believe you're right. This is historically and currently recorded live, and then they put it on. Yeah, I mean, okay, I agree with you, and I know what you're saying, having listened to the podcast, but if anyone hasn't listened to this podcast, I don't want to oversell the wit, because a lot of times it's not like that is a really clever observation.
I find them funny. Though also, I think this is another point in the, like, nostalgia column for my experience of this podcast, because they're so central to, like, just me being in a car on Saturday and my family going out and being silly and having a good time, and Wait, Don't Tell Me is on, and they're making sarcastic commentary about whatever insane thing happened this week.
Sure.
And my family is so sarcastic. So I'm like, this tracks. No one would expect me to be like, yeah, I listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me because I'm not like a nonfiction person. But when I say I listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me, sometimes I see things click for people. There's a little bit of, oh, yeah. So for me, the humor, spot on. I love that stuff.
Oh, that's awesome. I like the way that you're like, I'm not a... You kind of like started to grumble, like do an old man news. Yeah, no, I think this is definitely for some people. Some people might find it overly sarcastic. I don't think it's overly witty, but I know what you're saying. I would say it's definitely NPR humor. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
This is not like Phil Coliseum style humor.
Yeah, but you know, you're getting the news.
You're getting the dang news. So you might be saying to yourself, golly gosh, Sam and Anna keep talking about how this is a news podcast. How does that even work? Well, it's a news podcast because, well, there's several different segments, I guess is how we should start this out. There's several different segments. The first segment is called Who's Bill This Time, in which they have a listener on the show call in boop, 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 over the phone, and Bill Curtis will read off a quotation from the week. Peter Siegel will give a really big hint.
Yeah.
And then the listener contestant has to be like, oh, that was from like Donald Trump, or like, oh, I heard LeBron James say that, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And if they get 2 out of 3, they get their prize, which is the prize for every listener contestant. If they get 2 out of 3, someone from the show on their voicemail.
Yeah.
Which feels like a prize that really needs to be updated, for the modern time.
I think it's fun. I do think it's so classic that there'd be outrage if they changed it, Not everyone has gotten the opportunity yet to get their wait, don't tell me voicemail.
I just don't think not everyone has a voicemail, anymore.
Well,
when's the last time you heard someone's voicemail?
I think it was when I called you.
Yeah, my voicemail's really funny. I want you to know, Anna, that I spent like a full 15 minutes one day recording that voicemail.
That's awesome.
Well, because I had so many different bits planned. I had so many different bits that were so funny.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was like, I can't start off my voicemail with, hey there, Chuckle. I'm not around the phone.
Your new boss calls you.
That's what I always thought. I wish I had a silly phone. I wish I had a silly phone that was just for silly business.
Yes. Need a phone for silly business. Duh.
So after Who's Bill This Time, they do some panel questions, which they do a few times throughout the podcast. They talk about all right, panel of humorous comedian guests. Here's a question from this week's news. And sometimes it's serious, but a lot of times it is like what's going on with the Walrus gangs, right? It's very niche, and it's kind of just an excuse to talk about that thing.
Yes. You said something earlier about the fact that sometimes you don't want to watch the news.
Yes.
A lot of the time, I don't want to watch the news. There's bad stuff in there. But if I listen to Wait, Don't Tell Me, I know they're going to be funny about it, and I'll still get the highlights that I need to be an informed citizen of society. So they do a pretty good job of balancing, this is a quote from the tweet Donald Trump put out yesterday. Also, the Walrus gangs, so that you get these funny tidbits that I love hearing about, but also they're like, this is the actual things that are happening.
Yeah, I think that's kind of a good point. The appeal of this podcast is to be like, it's the news, so you're informed, but it's funny, so it's less sad. And it is funny to have something very serious undercut by a joke, Peter Siegel has all these jokes written out in advance, right, for whatever thing he's talking about. But I don't know if it's quite enough news for somebody to really be informed,
Yeah, not really. It's kind of just, if you want to get the highlight reel, this will help.
Yeah, if you want to dip your toe into nose. Just for the record, I did say dip your toe into nose, so that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. I guess if you do want to do that, this is the podcast for you. But if you want to dip your toe into the news, this is a good spot. And it's also, it's a really hard scale to be what does it take to be informed? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially in the information age when there's so much going on. But I don't know if I think you're super qualified to be talking about you don't know everything that's going on or in great detail from Wait, Don't Tell Me.
No.
Is it a good spot to be oh, I heard about this thing and now I'm going to look up more about it. I'm going to go read a piece on it.
That's exactly what I was about to say.
Yeah, maybe that's its role. But I would honestly probably say this is better entertainment than news. I feel like it's definitely great entertainment for the NPR mom,
Yeah.
If you're a member of the NPR wine club, holy moly, this is perfect for you.
See, the more we talk, the more I'm reminded of how funny it is that my brother was so obsessed with NPR, or not with NPR, with specifically Wait, Don't Tell Me for so long. Because he would listen to so many episodes.
Having met your brother exactly once now, I would say he emotionally and visually exactly fits the description of an NPR mom.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, him with his huge muscles.
Yeah.
It definitely has kind of the soccer mom vibes. No, I mean, it's from more people than just that, right? But I think if you're a little liberal and you like some dry wit with your dry wine,
yeah,
this is your perfect podcast. I think it's a good podcast for other people, But I think that is really who this is for. And perhaps this podcast is like the big central piece of culture for them. You know what I mean? Like, this might create that kind of person, I almost think. Somebody who has patches on their sports coat elbow. So after some panel questions, then they do the Bluff the Listener game. I almost started just saying what they say on the podcast. Bluff the Listener game.
Yeah.
Call 188 to play live on the air. Anyway, in this game, the comedians make up 2 stories, and then one of them has a real story, and the listener contestant has to pick which one's real. And then there's Not My Job, which is where they get a guest on the show. And I know you think, whoa, we already have a panel of guests. That's true, but these are famous people, more or less.
Sometimes it is real, like, famous people,
Yes.
which is fun.
Sometimes it's someone like promoting their show. Like, you know, I remember listening to the guy who stars on Abbott Elementary be like, there's a new season of Abbott Elementary.
Whoa.
But also sometimes it's like kind of funny who they are. Like they were in Boston and they just had a old MLB player who used to play in Boston just like come up, and he's not like really promoting anything, I don't think, maybe besides his bar.
Yeah.
They're just like, he's a great shortstop or whatever.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of fun.
I listened to a fairly recent episode they had with Josh Gad.
Oh, yeah.
Which was awesome. And Sterling K. Brown, he was promoting his new show, but he was also kind of just being there and being Sterling K. Brown because he's awesome. But yeah, they get fun guests on. Because normally it is just comedians who are comedians on NPR, not doing crazy other things. And then you're like, whoa, a real celebrity. Right, this is NPR. This is like the big names.
Yeah, so sometimes they do get guests on, but a lot of times it's slightly smaller celebrities, but not always. And then they'll come on for Not My Job. Peter Sagal will banter with them for a while, and they'll talk to them. Kind of like a late night show where they'll have someone on, and they'll be like, hey, what's going on in your life? You know, and so they can do their promo and stuff. But then they play Not My Job, which is they ask someone a set of 3 questions, much like they do the listener contestants, but it's about something very unrelated to them and usually some really weird pun on their name.
It's pretty awesome.
Like if it was Barack Obama, they'd be like, Barack Obama, meet a rock big llama. We're going to ask you 3 questions about rocks that look like big llamas.
Yep. Or like they had NASCAR driver Jeff Gordon on, and instead of asking him questions about driving, they asked him questions about being a passenger in a car.
Sure. That one was very fun. Then they have the Listener Limerick Challenge, which is just Bill Curtis reads off a rhyme about
a limerick.
A limerick, something that was in the news, and the listener guesses it. And then the actual point at the end where any of the points matter for the panel is lightning fill in the blank, where they just ask them questions about the week's news really quick, and they have like 60 seconds to answer them.
Yeah.
And then whoever gets the most points wins. And they don't really do anything about the winning, but they're just a winner.
They just win.
And that's what's important in life, is to distinguish winners.
Yeah, I really like lightning fill in the blank because it probably has the most questions that are like actual news questions of, do you know what's going on? Because there's actually a little bit. They really love to help the listener out. They really help them out. Sometimes truly they get a 3-choice question and they give them 3 chances to answer.
Yeah, I really enjoy because that happens a lot. Peter will be like, are you sure?
He'll go, do you want to guess again? And then I was listening to one episode where they guessed again, and then one of the comedians went, there's one more option.
What's also great about that, because sometimes there's a host filling in for Peter. Someone just like guessed the wrong thing. They're like, well, you're wrong. Which is funny and like normal. That makes sense. But it's just funny because that never happens.
Yeah, normally does not happen on Wait, Don't Tell Me. But they really like to let the listeners get a win. There's more actual, like, how much do you know with the competition between the guest panel. And so the lightning fill in the blank is a lot of times mostly actually questions about what's been going on in the world. And then they'll throw in a question. So most of them are pretty straightforward answers because it's lightning questions. So it's like, who made this executive decision? Donald Trump. Which country did da-da-da-da, whatever. And then they ask a question that is like, what did 2 penguins do on Saturday? And it's like, walk around in the zoo? No, they went and bought bubble gum and stuck it on the bottom of everyone's shoes. And then Peter Sagal keeps going.
Yes.
Like, it's
Truly a
obvious.
delight.
It's so funny. That is my favorite part of Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, is the lightning fill in the blank with the insane answers that get thrown in like they're normal.
Yeah, and the insane questions almost only serve the role just to slow someone down.
Yes.
Like they'll give them like 5 normal ones and then they'll ask them the penguin question and it's just like,
What's funniest is when, because these are comedians, weirdly often they'll say a thing as a joke to be like, this would be a funny thing to happen, and it's the real answer, which is the best.
yes. It's just like, what? How did that happen?
Yeah. And then they win.
And then they win. And then that's it. That's really the end of the podcast. They tell you what they think will happen on the next episode of Wait, Don't Tell Me or whatever. They're like, I'm telling you, this is the next big invention in hydrodynamics or whatever. They say some jokes.
Yeah, they ask the guest panel to, while they read off the credits, come up with something relevant from the episode. They'll be like, we had a question about a toaster. What do you think will be the next thing to replace toasters? And then each of the comedians comes up with the answer. I also really love, I don't remember which position it is, but there is someone on the team who produces Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me that is always
You're going to say Doug Berman, benevolent overlord?
benevolent overlord. Yeah, I love our benevolent overlord. There's also several others that they've added, because it used to only be that the funny one in the credits was the benevolent overlord, but now there's some that are like,
Emma Choi is their vibes curator.
yeah, vibes curator. I'm trying to remember the other ones.
Yeah, it's one way to get people to pay attention to what you do.
Peter Gwynn says title redacted on their website, and the description, everyone else gets a full paragraph, and Peter Gwynn gets, Peter is our everything.
Oh, that's kind of sweet.
It is.
So that's kind of the breakdown of what happens in a Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me episode. Almost in the same length that it happens, that it takes place, is how long we've been talking. But there's really, I don't know, there's not that much going on with Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of what it seems like at the surface level. It's a news show, but I think it's not super newsy. Like, if you're a big news guy, you should probably go listen to, like, First Up, you know? Because this is also, you get all your news at, like, one point in the week, right? You get it once a week. And while that's, like, that's kind of nice, you know, to not see everything as it's coming out. I think it's interesting. I think I talked about this on the First Up by NPR episode when I talked about that show. I read the AP, big AP fan. And I like that AP has taken from Twitter, like live tweeting. Now they just have journalists being like, this is what we think might have happened today.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like 2 seconds ago. This, you know, because it's once a week. It's a little more laid back. It's like, all right, there's less of a crisis in this immediate moment. We're just going to talk about it. But it's not super informative. You get like the funny sound clips kind of level of news.
Yeah, it's for sure not where you should get all of your news or anything, but I just like it as I can listen to it, and if there's things that I haven't heard about, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go check that out to make sure I know what's going on. Sort of as a touchstone type of thing, but also I'm not stressed while I'm listening to it.
No, it's not. It's not going to cause you to feel that way, like about watching the news live tweets, right? It's just going to be like, this is funny, and it is. It's pretty funny. It's like fairly funny. I'm not going to say it's like always laugh out loud. Sometimes the panelists get going.
Yeah, you're not going to like bust your ribs, but you'll laugh. You'll chuckle. I love to chuckle.
Do you think people bust their ribs listening to Podcast Cast?
I hope so. Surely. We're so funny. That's how we open this episode.
That would be a great name for like a gang, you know, coming back to the whole gang.
We're so funny.
No, Rib Busters.
Oh,
You know?
I'd love to be a rib buster. Can we rename this podcast?
Rib Busters. Rib Busters sounds like one of those old joke books that like my grandpa would have if he was gonna like do a public talk.
Yeah.
You know, Rib Busters, 10,000 jokes that to make you laugh. You know,
Rib Busters could be another podcast we make. We could figure out what that's about.
we only talk about ribs.
Ribs. It's a barbecue podcast.
Oh, I was thinking it was an anatomy podcast.
We could come in every week and be like, what's the way we can spin ribs?
I just don't think there's that many because it's a specific word.
Get creative.
I like the way you kind of like shrugged, but almost as if the shrug had recoil. You know, like you just shot like a gun from your shoulder and you went, huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty funny podcast. It's fairly informative. I think that's fair to say. I don't think it's a great podcast to like listen a bunch back to back to.
I agree. And yet, my brother.
Oh, okay. I thought there was going to be more. It was just.
Nope. He does it. So for some people, it might strike gold. I think it's like you listen to a little bit every now and then, but that 16-year-old boy really loved. Wait, don't tell me.
Yeah, I guess that's really the demo is the youth. No, I'm not sure about that. I mean, I don't know. Maybe those are the binge listeners. But I think if I lived in multiple back to back, it's not because it's kind of the same thing, you know? It's kind of just the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Then the news is stale,
Yep.
right? It's olds. Now you're just listening to olds.
Yeah, it's like, oh, right, I forgot that happened 2 months ago.
Yeah. So there isn't a whole lot of value in going through the back catalog. If you're a big fan, there's a huge back catalog.
Yes.
I mean, this show's been going for, I don't know, at least since 2008. So a long time. But for me, I didn't really... I haven't enjoyed it that much going back and listening through the back catalog. You with me there, Honor? Do you feel that way?
Yeah, I don't know. I maybe feel slightly more positively than you about it. I thought it was just... I think it's nice to listen to. I never feel bored while listening to Wait, Don't Tell Me, which is impressive because most nonfiction podcasts, for me, will inevitably have a point at which I'm bored. But this one, I never feel bored. I think I just kind of really like the pace of a radio show. I like that they get a listener on and there's sort of this community aspect a little bit where they're like, where are you calling from in the city? What do you do for your job? We want to hear about the people who listen to the show. So there's just something kind of nice to me about it in the vibes. It's something kind of nice to vibe to for me. So it's fun like that, you know? But I don't think I'll go binge listen to a bunch. I know I won't. I probably won't listen to it very often at all. But if it's on the radio, I like to listen to it on the radio, that kind of thing.
Sure. Yeah, I think that I wouldn't have thought of that, but I think you're right that there's that little sense of community there when Peter Sagal is doing like small talk with the listener contestants. I do enjoy because someone calls in and he has to like identify something kind of funny to say about them, you know? And it's really awesome when he searches and he doesn't immediately find it.
Yeah.
He's like, so where are you from? Boarding place. Ah, what do you do there? Nothing.
Yeah. Luckily, it's established enough that most of the time now, people kind of tee up like one specific thing about their life that's interesting. Like they'll be like, I'm coming from Nashville, Tennessee, and I'm a kidney doctor. And he's like, whoa, what's fun about kidneys? She's like, well, I'm only really a specialist in left kidneys. And then everyone's like, ha ha ha, that's so funny.
Sorry, Honor, like the way that you did not enjoy that joke that you told.
I thought it was funny.
Okay.
Don't put words in my mouth.
I mean, yeah, okay. I just would love for you to like do stand-up comedy, but you're like,
Ha ha ha.
ha ha ha. You like that, don't you?
You thought that was funny because we're so funny.
Yeah, I also imagine they have to have people like that screen the callers in advance, but they do a good job of it. And then, you know, most of the time it's hitchless, you know?
Yeah, it is impressive. I love when radio is really good, and NPR makes really good radio. So it's just good, like high production quality, good, nice people, etc. Good vibes. I like the vibe.
Bro, I love vibing.
I love vibing.
Yeah, I think there's not that much more to Wait, Don't Tell Me. For me, I think it's pretty funny. It's moderately informative. I would say, you know, we don't get very political on this show, but I think it is worth noting that if you are more conservatively aligned, I think you'll enjoy the show less.
Yeah.
Just by the nature of the panelists who come on. And just because like Trump and like Republicans are in power right now, a lot of those jokes are targeted that way.
Yeah.
And so I feel like you might be like, oh man, wait a minute. That's not that funny.
They're great at punching up. They love to punch up, which I think is awesome. And I'll say that.
I'll stand by. I like when people are funny.
I like when people are funny. I like when people make fun of guys who won't care ever.
Yeah. So that's just something to note. I remember saying about First Up by NPR, there's like maybe a slight liberal bias. I think it's much stronger in Wait, Don't Tell Me. But I also think that makes a lot more sense for the NPR mom, you know?
Yep. I think they really know, especially because I think they've gotten more solidified in that leaning as they've established their voice and sort of where they are as a show. So that's just like the arena they play in, the kinds of jokes they make, and they know that, so they stick to that. Which in some ways I think is appealing, just that they very clearly have a strong sense of the show's identity. And so it makes things smoother and snappier that they do not hesitate to say that kind of stuff.
Right, because the panelists are going for the laugh,
Yeah.
you know, like every time. Well, I would say they're going for the laugh every time, but every once in a while there's a panelist who's just like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Really? That's so like, and just like kind of want to explore it for a while. And I think they're trying to create something to tee up someone else.
Yeah, they're fishing.
There are some times when it's just like, there's no joke here, and this guy is just like doesn't really know what's going on until another one of the panelists comes in and says a one-liner, and then we're out for the ad break.
Yeah.
Honor, you got any other thoughts on Wait, Don't Tell Me?
I don't think so. I'm thinking back in my car. I'm 9 years old.
You're in the crib at 9 years old.
It's Saturday. We're driving around town. It's probably summer and like 80 degrees out. Probably more like 95.
Got your ice cream in your binky.
Got my ice cream. Sam's being stupid somewhere.
I was a highly intelligent 9-year-old. Okay, those worms weren't going to eat themselves.
He's being a little dummy. And I'm having a good time. And I'm listening to Wait, Don't Tell Me.
That's excellent. I will note that I like Wait, Don't Tell Me purely because it has a longer name than Podcast Cast.
That's true.
You know, that's not something we could say about a lot of podcasts.
No. I love how truly they run through it like a train every time. Because it is always, wait, don't tell me.
Wait, Don't Tell Me.
It's never, wait, don't tell me.
Wait.
You'd think they'd take a while on this kind of name. But no, it is always at the highest pace they can.
Yeah, because you're saying it like 30 times a day. Bill Curtis does the best of just saying it like how someone would say it in normal life. It's like, welcome to Wait, Don't Tell Me.
Mm-hmm.
The NPR News Quiz. Yeah, so extra plus points for that. I'm going to say my final rating for Wait, Don't Tell Me is a 3.
I was also going to say a 3. It's a solid pod.
It's a solid pod. It's above.
Maybe a 3.5 for me.
Yeah.
I got to give it nostalgia points. I like it. I like it a lot. It doesn't have a ton of things that are super appealing and like favorites for me, but I don't really have anything I dislike about it.
Well, yeah, I kind of agree with you. There's not a lot that like is abrasive about Wait, Don't Tell Me. Like some of the other like audio dramas we'll listen to are just like, I really like this part and really don't like this part. I don't feel that way about Wait, Don't Tell Me. I think it's a well-polished product, but I also think it's not like, if I want to be informed, there's things that I like more to be informed by. And if I want to be entertained, there's things I like more to be entertained by. So it's not often in my rotation, except when our brothers gang up and are like, you should do an episode on Wait, Don't Tell Me. And now we have, so.
Yeah, I don't know if we can't let them find each other because they'll become too powerful or because they'll have to fight for the superior Wait, Don't Tell Me fan.
I think, it would be like that meme where it's just the two muscly arms coming together.
Yeah.
In a great sense of unity. I think they would make the Omegazord or whatever happens in Power Rangers when they group together. I think that's exactly what would happen. And that's what would happen with all the Wait, Don't Tell Me people if they got together. So just remember, listener, if you know someone who likes Wait, Don't Tell Me, keep them isolated.
Yeah.
Don't do what we're doing. Don't discuss it with them. Don't let them have an outlet.
That's why we have to do this one over the internet, because we're playing with fire here.
Lest we be consumed in the great gravity ball of Wait, Don't Tell Me.
And then you'll be waiting forever.
But you know what you won't be waiting for? The next episode of Podcast Cast. You'll have it pretty soonish.
In 2 weeks.
Perfect.
We have a set amount of time.
Yeah, that's pretty soonish. Feel free to email in, and we will talk about your emails in the next episode of Podcast Cast. Leave us a review. We'll also read those off. And follow the show wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. Follow, and then you'll get a little notification will pop up when we post a video. So if you don't want to think about if it's been 2 weeks or not, boom, it will just show up. And then you can put us in your ears, and we'll hang out there until we have nothing more to talk about. And then we'll hop out and walk back home.
Yep, tiny little versions of me and Sam.
That's how we do it. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little cloned version of us talking to you.
Yep.
Honor, thanks for podding with me.
Sam, thanks for podding with me.
And listener, thank you for listening to this highly informative, very news-oriented episode of Podcast Cast. I don't know why I said it like that.
Podcast Cast. I said it mostly normal, but a little bit more like they say, wait, don't tell me.
I like it.
Unfortunately, Sam's audio cut out with that last bit through the sheer force of Podcast Cast. But bye!
Peter Sagal kind of looks like the priest from my elementary school, but if he had more eyebrow.
I believe you, and I'll add that to the flashback.
The more I'm looking at Peter Sagal, the more I think he might actually be really handsome.
I'm going to add that to the flashback, too.